morning, folks. Extend a warm welcome to each of you for the 8th Pune Dialogue on National Security, centered around the theme of securing India's economic growth. This conference is a collaborative effort by Pune International Center, Policy Perspectives Foundation, and the Observer Research Foundation. We appreciate the presence of everyone here, and we are honored to have a distinguished lineup of speakers today. As time is of essence, I would like to welcome the convener, Lieutenant General Vinayak Patankar, to kindly deliver the opening remarks.
Thank you very much. Namaskar, Jai Hind, Suprabhat. Last evening, I also made a few opening remarks, so some of what I'm about to say may be repetitive, so please bear with me, those who've heard this before. First of all, a very warm welcome. I understand that many of you have traveled a long distance, arrived just in time for the afternoon event yesterday, so you've had a bit of a hectic time, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much. This morning we are going to delve into the meat of this whole conference, the 3 sessions. And before we do that, I thought it might be appropriate to speak a few words on the Pune International Center for those who are probably attending this conference for the first time, and also about the Pune Dialogue. The Pune International Center was set up in 2011, and thereafter it's been growing both in stature, strength, and in substance. The Pune International Center actually deals with, it's an independent think tank, and the independent part is important because with no strings attached, we are able to say our piece without fear or favor. The center analyzes, debates, and ideates on a number of subjects, including energy, economy, environment, climate change, governance, science and technology, apart from the national security, which is why we are here. Pune International Center has a number of flagship programs which we run annually, and some of them are, apart from, of course, the Pune Dialogue on National Security, which is one of them. We also have Environment and Climate Change Dialogue. We have, with the assistance and in collaboration with the Ministry of External Affairs, we have the Asia Economic Dialogue, and we also have a national conference on social innovation. Coming to Pune Dialogue on National Security, this dialogue started in 2015, so this is the 8th edition of the dialogue. And we have dealt with a number of diverse themes. We started off, yesterday General Pitre very aptly put it when I was talking to him about the Pune Dialogue, that we started on almost a set piece situation by picking up themes like national security policy formulation. What should go into the national security policy? What should be its framework? We talked about nuclear deterrence. We talked about nuclear doctrine. So they were more or less set-piece kind of subjects which many think tanks do address routinely, or certainly in their initial stages. We talked about governance. We talked about civil-military relationships, Indo-Pacific, pandemics, and the disaster management. And last year, we talked about the emerging world order, how it impacts India's national security. So why suddenly turn to economy? There was a very extensive debate on picking up this year's theme, and finally how it came to this theme of securing India's economic growth may be of some interest to you. We felt that economy is actually at the heart of everything that happens in terms of development in the country. Whether it's the development of, like the chief was talking, the army chief spoke about the total comprehensive national power and so on and so forth. You take any field, whether it is social upliftment, whether it is infrastructure, anything and everything, at the heart of it is the economy. And fortunately, our country's rise in the recent years has been on account of our growing economy at a sustained rate. Of course, we are all aware that the target is somewhat at the moment elusive, but this is where we are getting 8% growth for some 25 years or something like that. And it's always good to have some kind of an aim in front of you when you start looking at economic growth. Along with this rise in the economic growth in the country, how other things are attached. The well-being of our people is attached with it. Internal governance is attached with it. Atmanirbharta is attached with it. So we felt that this is something which we must keep secure. If I was an enemy of India, instead of fighting India at Galwan or elsewhere, or challenging Indian Navy in the Indian Ocean, I would like to, well, I'll do that and more. And I could squeeze India to make sure its economic growth is stunted. How I can do that is by, as one example, preventing India from getting critical materials, minerals, which we just have to import, or energy resources. 85% of our energy resources, petroleum, comes from abroad, from imports. So those are the areas where I'll try and squeeze India. We felt that this is probably the right time to see this threat on the horizon and think about it as to how we can make sure that that doesn't happen. Or if it happens, we are able, with a plan, to tackle it. To discuss that, we have 3 sessions planned today. I won't go over the sessions now. They are then in the program in front of you. But I'd now like to request our President, Dr. Mashelkar, to please come and give his welcome note.
Dr. Vijay Kelkar, our beloved Vice President, Lieutenant General Vinayak Patankar, dear members of the PIC family, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I extend a very warm welcome to you all. This is the 8th edition of Pune Dialogue on National Security. To begin with, I want to express our grateful thanks to our partners. Haldar Sahab, you have been steadfastly with us, PPF has been with us, and now ORF. So I welcome Gautam, an old friend, Vice President of ORF. We began yesterday with the Chief of Army Staff and the headquarters of Southern Command having been so generous with us and hosted us. And his speech still sort of, I'm just thinking about it in terms of what he said. And I wish we had a dialogue on what he said itself. I mean, it was so profound. I also thought that there was a special feature. I must thank Vikas Deshmukh for organizing this, and this was getting the young involved. All right, and therefore we posed a question to them. And Ajit, thank you very much for hosting it at Gokhale Institute of Economics and Politics. And we celebrated the winners yesterday. The interesting thing about this competition was 70% of the participants were girls. And 75% of the winners were girls. Out of 4, 3 of them were girls. I think that augurs very well, you know. And this very idea of getting the young involved in sort of some form, because finally some of us are playing the last innings, 4th innings, you know. They are in their first and second innings. I think they are the ones who are going to build the future. So that was fantastic. There was this word pole vaulting that was used. And that title was created by Vikas Deshmukh. And the question was on pole vaulting in economic security of India. And some asked me, well, we are used to leapfrogging. What is this pole vaulting? So I thought in my brief remarks, I'll explain to you the pole vaulting, because I hope today's dialogue will have that pole vaulting spirit on which the young people wrote. By the way, I went through their essays, by the way. Incredible thinking, honestly. You know, I think we will have to find creative ways of getting more out of them in terms of their ideas. In fact, we could have had a special session on what they were saying should be done. You know, that's actually something very special. So, in my brief remarks, I want to explain this pole vaulting spirit. Where did the word come from? In fact, most of you would have seen this book, which Ravi Pandit and I wrote together, Leapfrogging to Pole Vaulting. And the subtitle was very important. Subtitle was Creating the Magic of Radical Yet Sustainable Transformation. All right, I think that was the meaning. It was not just bravery of pole vaulting. It started in an interesting way. I've been associated with Reliance for 17 years as a member of the board, and also the chairman of their Reliance Innovation Council, and then currently the New Energy Council, because as you know, multi-billion-dollar investments are being made by Reliance. And I remember once after having finishing the meeting, I and Mukesh were having a cup of tea, and he said, "Doc, we must leapfrog to something." I don't remember what it was. And I said, "Mukesh, do you know why the frog leaps?" So he said, "I don't know." I said, "He leaps because he's afraid of the predator and jumps a few feet and again a few feet. It's a reaction." So I said, "Do you want to be afraid of the competitors and jump a few feet in fear? Or you want to pole vault? The size of the pole is the size of your aspiration." That is how this book came about, because that was inspired. And then we created actually a leadership program called Beyonders. Young people, some 20, 25 of them, who could think beyond the realms of possibilities. Has it pole vaulting? And pole vaulting also has an exponential spirit in it. Doing it with speed, achieving large scales, and doing it sustainably. Speed, scale, and sustainability. He himself is a very good example. You will remember year before last we had the Asia Economic Dialogue, and we had a fireside chat between me and him. And you remember what he said. He says his first billion, after that, to go to 10 billion took 15 years. But it took next 10 years within which they went 10 to 100. And within next 5 years, they went from 100 billion to 200 billion. Currently, there are 250 billion. So himself is an exemplar as far as exponential growth is concerned, but he has delivered also exponentially. And if you remember February 2017, we were 156 among 230 nations in mobile data consumption. Came Jio, and within 1 year, we did not leapfrog from 156 to 100. We pole vaulted to number 1, and we have been number 1. And you have seen the magic that has happened, because it was 4 rupees per GB, voice free, 500 million customers almost having that benefit, and the rest is sort of history. So that is the spirit. It's very interesting that, General Bipin Rawat, he's no more unfortunately, but he talked to Nitin Gokhale, and this was on 20th May 2020. And that is on YouTube, by the way. And you know what he said? He had read the book. And he said, this is exactly what we need to do. We need to, from leapfrogging, we have to do pole vaulting as a nation. And he explained how that can be done. And day before yesterday, I was in another dialogue, Piyush Goyal using the words pole vaulting. So I love it. The students say it, all of us say it, and there is a spirit in that. About the exponential part, I think, Ajit, I will repeat what I said yesterday because you asked me to sort of repeat it. I'll repeat it here. If you look at India, I think I must think of a particular pond where there are lilies, and those lilies double up. That is the exponential part of it every day. On day 30, the pond is full. So it will be half full on 29th. On 28th quarter, right? 27, 1/8, and 26, 1/16. 1/16 is 6%. So when you look at the lake and you go on the 26th day, you feel it is empty. 6%, 94% empty. But the surprise is that pond is such that after 4 days, if you go, you will find it full. This surprises. I think India is lilies in the pond on the 26th day. Because if you see the exponentials that we have been able to achieve in many areas, it shows. I mentioned about the mobile data consumption. Within 8 years, 67x is the sort of a rise. So 8 years ago, it would have been lilies in the pond on the 26th day. If you look at the UPI, of course, is a famous story, 2017 to 22, from 0.1 billion to 74 billion. And now UPI has created a history. I don't have to sort of talk about it. If you look at the Jandan accounts, 2015 to 2023, from 14.75 crore to 50 crore. And most importantly, the accounts held by women moved from 19% to 56%. Inclusion. So it was expansion with inclusion. Lots of these things you will find, they are not only expansion and going exponential, but also inclusion. You look at, for example, light emitting diodes. You know, in 2014, the LED occupied only 0.1% of the share of the total lighting, you know. Within 7 years, 2014 to 2021, it moved from 0.1% to 88%, right? And there was innovation, demand aggregation. In fact, I was talking to Piyush Goyal because he started it day before yesterday in terms of how they did it. And it was, again, innovation of a sort. LED was not our technology, but by demand aggregation, we brought the prices down by a factor of 7. And then, of course, there was a system delivery innovations in terms of creating EASL and so on and so forth, etc. So the point I'm trying to make is that we have done it. We have gone exponential. So can we chase exponentials? That is what. And I'm a great believer in exponential. This is a book on exponential. And my latest book with Harsh Hiladkar, by the way, whose age is half of mine, is 39, on exponential improvement through converging parallels. Now this requires exponential thinking, exponential leadership. You know, Chandra Mehta, I remember when we were talking about 4G and 5G, you were talking about 6G. Similarly, Mukesh, when 2G, 3G was prevalent and 4G LTE was not proven, he went for 4G LTE. So somehow or the other, there has to be a leap of faith that yes, we can. And there are sort of the Indian startup is a classical story. Until 2016, 476 registered, but today 90,000. I think that's a super exponential. More importantly, if you look at unicorns, until 2016, 1 per year. 2021, it was 1 per week, almost 44. And the good news was, I got an analysis done, 50% of them came from Tier 3 cities, Tier 2 cities, not just IITs and sort of IIM. That is democratization of innovation. That's what I'm talking about. Chasing the exponential, but creating the inclusion. One after the other, one can give these examples. Of course, there is a bit of a concern, because when you are growing exponentially, there will be inhibitors. And you have seen that although we talked about 1 per week in 2021, this year, in the first 6 months, we didn't have a single one. And there were a large number of other factors, because there were reality sort of checks and so on and so forth. I think the central point, I don't want to deal with it, I can give more examples on what I'm saying is that in that economic growth, can we add the word exponential in some sense or the other? Rapid acceleration, but inclusive. That's actually the point. I, for one, am very much looking forward to sitting there and listening and learning. Again, I'm grateful to you for making it sort of today. We have Surjit, it is so wonderful to see you again, old friend from NCR days. We were on the same board. And yesterday when Vijay and Surjit were talking, I told him, why don't we have a special session on fireside chat between just two of you today? It is incredible. Because these are the architects of what has happened in India. So very exciting day ahead, very inspiring day ahead. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm sure you too. Thank you very much.